Good morning, girls. I wanted to bring to you this little edit that I'm going to do, kind of start to finish. My other black and white edits that I did were a little bit like spliced up a little bit. They were kind of done at different times. In one of them, I showed you some random raw processing in Lightroom. Most of them were done in Photoshop, but I really wanted to take you kind of start to finish. I tried in those previous videos not to duplicate anything that Kelly Cronert taught about at the Candid class because I didn't want to duplicate what she taught, and that was the reason that I did the videos was for the Candid class. So I just didn't want to duplicate that. So anyway, I wanted to post a picture, Erin, of the canals. See, it's a habit. I'm sorry. It's canal. She had challenged everybody in a recent post to go ahead and close out March strong with some black and whites. So I wanted to go ahead and post this. Also, this was taken with my 70 to 200 2.8. It's a Tamron. I shoot with a Nikon D5200, which is a little crop sensor that's pretty old at this point. But anyway, so I actually took out my 70 to 200 because I was inspired by Natalie Greenroyd, in her, I'll link to it below, but in her live stream video when she took over the Photographer Hack Instagram account and she did a live stream, she talked about how she mostly uses that lens. And I thought that was so interesting because I don't really pull that lens out very often. I especially don't bring it to playgrounds. I only really use it like for portraits and stuff if I'm in a big open field. But she kind of inspired me to bring it out and to play with it. I was going through this series of monkey bar images. I'm gonna hit G. Whoops, let me go into I was still on my QuickTime. Let me hit G to go to grid view. So you can see all of these random pictures that I took. I'm not necessarily a spray and pray shooter, but I do take a lot of shots because you never know what you're gonna like. I went ahead and I hit the shortcut P as in Paul, on my keyboard to add this white flag. I'm gonna call these my picks. So P for pick. If I know that I don't like an image or it's a major duplication from other images, I'll hit the X button, the X shortcut on my keyboard, and that's to indicate that I want these deleted, and I'll go ahead and delete those later. But what I've done is I've selected my picks, and the way you can do that, I think, is in Edit, Select Flag Photos. Oh, and there's a shortcut here that I probably should use. It looks like it's Shift Command A. Shift Command A. So I will have to try that. So anyway, so these are my picks. I'm gonna hit N for narrow down. So these are the images that I wanted to choose from when I was editing these pictures. If I want, I can double tap and then I can cycle through to try to figure out which one I like and which one I want to edit. I kind of liked her struggling with the monkey bar thing. But ultimately, this image is the one that I'm going to go with. You might choose a different image to edit. This is the one I'm going to choose to edit. If I had a lot of time, which I don't, I might edit a few of them and then put them in a gallery post. But ultimately, I think I'm just going to do this one. I really love the center composition. I love the lines. I love her hair blowing in the wind. So that's kind of what really got to me. And I know that it's kind of cropped a little weird, but I hope that you can sense as a viewer that these are monkey bars and she's kind of looking down, wondering if she's going to do this or not. So anyway, that's what I'm feeling from the image, and that's why I'm going to go ahead and edit it. Now, typically before the Candid class, so thank you, Erin and Nicole and everybody at the Candid class for forcing me to do this. I normally would have used a preset on this image just to speed things up a little bit. So my presets, I'm going to hit D to go into my develop module, and then I have a million little presets over here. Some of the black and white ones I like to use are from Visco. So this is my Visco pack right here. You can actually get this for free if you email them and just ask for like their starter kit. I did that after I took Megan Luke's the Sincere Storyteller Breakout on Click and Moms, because she uses this preset, the Kodak Gold 100. She uses this one a little bit. So that's what that one looks like. But normally what I would have done is I would have used, I think I use Tri-X plus 3. I think that's the one I use. Yeah, I think that's the one I use. Or maybe 3 negative. I would probably just go through these. I think I like this one the best. So this would have been the preset that I would have used previously, and then I would have gone over here to my, get away, I would have gone to my panels here and would have messed with all this stuff. You can certainly start with a preset and then go over here and tweak everything the way you like, but since I am inspired to kind of do everything by hand because I was forced to do that and I kind of like the results, I'm going to show you how I would edit this image. So let's see here. So I'm going to go ahead and edit this image. The first thing I'm going to do is my white balance. This looks like a neutral gray to me. If you look over here, the numbers for temp and tint are 4900 and -4. If I tap on a neutral area, we actually kind of bumped up the pinks a little bit, or magenta, and then we actually went a little bit cooler. So that was using this area here. What would happen if I used her shirt, which I know is gray? I know that her shirt is gray. I'm gonna click on that. That warmed it up significantly. So I actually prefer, let's go to as shot again. Yeah, and if I look at her skin tone, and that cooled it down just a little bit. Yeah, I'll keep it there. And again, I'm converting this to black and white, so I'm not going to go nuts. I think if I was leaving it in color, I may, well, her skin looks really good. So I may mess with this. And actually, I do a lot of color toning in Photoshop anyway, so I would probably just leave it like this. Okay, so that's the first thing that I would do. The second thing that I would do is I'm actually going to scroll all the way down here and I'm going to fix my lines. Now, because I shot this with my 70 to 200 at 200, it's probably just going to remove like a tiny little bit of vignetting. My wide angle lens that I almost always use definitely has a little bit of warping to it. So just to be safe, I'm going to click these boxes, check these boxes, see what that did. It just kind of popped out the middle a little bit and took away the vignette. So you always want to, I know it sounds weird to click or check the box that says remove chromatic aberration. I took I didn't take a class. I watched a video by Julianne Cost, who is one of the Adobe gurus. If you go to Adobe, like Lightroom, Photoshop, if you go to the Adobe website and click to watch their tutorials, Julianne Cost does a lot of them, and she is super smart, like super, super smarty pants. I think she develops a lot of the Lightroom and Photoshop features as well. So she recommended that anytime you go under this panel, the lens corrections panel, in the transform panel, that you also check the box that says remove chromatic aberration. She said that it helps Lightroom run the algorithms more effectively, that they're more accurate. So I'm just going to go with what she says. Now what I do is I go down to my transform. Because there are lines in the image, I want them straight. First, I'm going to click on full. I'm going to see what happens. If it warps it and it looks really weird, then I'm going to click on auto. If it still looks weird, then I'll try to do it myself, but I really don't like to do it myself. I prefer to just have it do it for me. I'm going to click full. I like that. I'm just going to rock with that. Here's what auto would look like. And then off, auto, off, full. I'm just going to rock with full. Sometimes it warps it and it looks totally bizarre. So in this case, it didn't, so that's totally fine. All right, so now I'm going to roll back up here. I'm going to play with my histogram. I showed this at the Candid class. I actually hover my cursor or my mouse or whatever over the histogram. I do not use my sliders. I use my histogram, and I'm going to pull on my histogram. first thing I'm going to do, actually, let's convert this to black and white. Let's do that. I'm just going to go to treatment here and tap black and white. So let's work on this in black and white. Okay, so I'm going to pull my blacks down until, whoa, there's a little lag there, probably because I'm recording, until this triangle, which is my black clipping, until that turns white. So I know that I'm starting to clip my blacks. If I click on that triangle, it's going to show in blue the areas that have clipped or are totally black with no information on the picture. I'm going to leave that as it is. Then I'm going to go over here to the right side of my histogram, my whites, and I'm going to pull those up until, again, I light up this triangle. If I click on that, you can see what I've blown out. These are my blown highlights, and that's just fine for me. I will fix that later. I'm not really concerned with it. I actually just want to go ahead and add a lot of contrast to my subject. So I've gone ahead and done that here. Then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of pull this. I want it a little bit brighter. So I'm just going to go to these different areas. Now the different quadrants of the histogram relate to these sliders down here. So you can see when I'm in the middle, it affects exposure. If I'm in the highlights, you can see highlights. See how those are whites, highlights, exposure, shadows, and then blacks way over here. See how those are lighting up down there with the sliders? So you can use the sliders. I like to use my histogram because I think for the way I understand things, it just works better for me. But anyway, so I'm starting to like how that looks a little bit better, but I've lost my blacks. So I'm going to go back down here and I'm going to pull that back down. That looks pretty good. That looks pretty good. I don't want to lighten my shadows too much because I actually like deep shadows in a black and white. I'm going to turn that off. Okay, so one thing I'm going to do, I've mentioned this before, the before and afters are critical to make sure that your editing is going in the right direction. Now, if I hit the shortcut button Y for yellow, if I hit that, it's going to show me the color, the straight out of camera color image. That does not help me at all. I'm going to hit Y, or you could hit these Ys down here. That has the same exact effect. What I'm going to do so that I can make sure my editing is on track, I'm going to go to this convert to black and white. I'm going to go ahead and right click, copy history step settings to before. Okay, whoops, and then I'm going to go, I scrolled too quickly. I'm going to go back up to my edits, my most recent edit. Now I'm going to click this button or hit Y on my keyboard. Now I can see where we're going. Okay, so this is the before, this is the after, and there's a lot of different before and after ways that you can look at it. If the side-by-side view doesn't work for you, I mean, another thing you can do is you can go ahead and zoom in here, and you can kind of take a look at her face. You can see I've added some brightness and contrast to her face. You can fill the frame. I'm using the navigator over here. You can hit Z to zoom in and then to zoom out. Another thing that you can do if you want your before and after to look a little bit differently, see this YY, there's a drop down button, and then you can split it up. You can show it top to bottom, left to right split. I'll show you what that looks like. So you can kind of see, I actually prefer the left to right. Just for me, that works best. Anyway, I'm going to hit Y to go back to my main picture. So let's go ahead. So I'm happy with my histogram, I think. This contrast, this is mid-tone contrast right here. I'm just going to go ahead and tap on that a little bit. Clarity. Now clarity, you can kind of go nuts with a black and white image. I would not go nuts if it were color. But I'm just going to kind of slide this up and see what I like. And I may actually zoom in on her face. I just tapped on her face there. To make sure that I don't go too nuts with clarity. What I can do is I can double tap this little slider guy to go back to 0 to kind of do almost like a before and after, or I could go to my history panel and I can go before, after. I mean, I kind of like, and again, clarity at 39 is pretty high. In a color image, I don't think I go higher than like 10. I'm going to hit Z to zoom out, and I think I might do the same thing. I'm going to look at it before and after. I like the clarity. I like the clarity. It's at 39 right now. I don't think I want to go too much more nuts. I mean, you could. It doesn't look bad. It looks really high contrast. Z to zoom out. I'm not going to go up that high. So I'm just going to notch that back down. Let's see what it looks like at 50. Again, you guys, that's really high. Don't do that with a color image. I wouldn't do that with a color image if I were you. Okay, so another thing you can do, my tone curve, I do all of that stuff in Photoshop, and I'll show that to you. But I really don't mess too much with the tone curve unless there's something specifically I'm going for. One thing that I could do if I wanted to, see the point curve says linear, I could change that to medium or strong contrast. I could also see what it looks like in these presets. Remember I showed you these Tri-X presets down here. But I could add medium contrast, and you can see what that does. I could add strong contrast, and you see what that does. Let's go ahead and leave it at medium contrast. Let me go back and do a before and after. I'm in my history panel over here. I'm going to go back to my last step, and then medium contrast. Yeah, sure, I like that. We'll rock with that. Here are my black and white mix sliders. This is awesome. So one thing that I noticed when I turned it to black and white is that the yellow lettering on her shirt here got kind of lost. It got kind of muddy. So what I'm gonna do, and I don't know if I have too much other yellow in my picture. I mean, these, some of the playground equipment is more like tan, which may have yellow in it. Her hair may have yellow in it. So I'm not sure if this is going to be effective or not. But I'm going to take this yellow slider, and I'm just going to see how it affects the yellow of her shirt because I want it to stand out more. Whoa, that does stand out. I love it. Okay, so I increased the yellow. I made it brighter, and I want it to be brighter. So I'm going to go to before, after, and it pops more. I like that. I'm gonna stay with that. The reason is because the gal that does these t-shirts is Emerson Sky on Instagram, or Posy Row, and I love her stuff, and so I want to be able to tag her, and I want her hair's kind of covering this, but I just like the way it looks. So I love that shirt. It's my favorite shirt ever, and it's actually my daughter Kinsley's favorite shirt. She wears it all the time whenever it's clean. I don't do any split toning. You could. I don't. Sharpening, I usually leave it at the default of 25, but I always add a mask. I'm going to hold down my Alt option. I'm going to zip my mask up to 100. That's pretty good, to be honest. What I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this little box over this eye, and then I'm going to hold down Alt option again. I think I might notch it down. I want those little eyelashes to show a little bit. So now I'm at 91. And as you can see on my mask, those little eyelashes show a little bit better on this side. So what the mask does is it's just like Photoshop. It conceals what you don't want sharp, and it reveals in white, it shows through in white, the sharpening effect. So I only want sharp what I want sharp. I don't want the whole image sharp. Now, even at 92, masking, it's still showing quite a bit. It's not nearly as precise as Photoshop, where you can really have some fun with masks. But that looks fine. I'm gonna roll with that. Noise reduction or luminance. This was shot at ISO 100. I really don't need to add any luminance. If the ISO were higher, I would. But what you could do is go in 3:1. And just kind of see here. You can see a little bit of noise in her skin. What I do is look for a shadowy part of the skin, and then I base my luminance adjustment on that. So maybe I'll just go up a little bit. Don't go nuts with luminance. Do not go nuts with luminance. I'll say it again, don't go nuts with luminance. Your image, it'll look soft, and you'll lose sharpness, and it's not good. All right, so I bumped it to 8. Let me just go ahead and go before and see if I can tell the difference. And then after, very subtle, if anything. I think there's a little lag time because I'm recording this, but very, very little. If you are going to add luminance on a high ISO image, I think I very rarely rarely can go above 40 or 50. I mean, if I'm using ISO from my little crop sensor, if I'm using an ISO of like above 1,000, I really shouldn't even go above 1,000 with my ISO on my camera. It just does not handle high ISOs very well. It's very grainy, very noisy, very ugly. I may try to correct it by adding luminance, but you really can't go above 40 or 50 because then the whole image just looks weird and soft. Okay, I've already done my lens corrections, my transform. I don't need to add a vignette. I'll do that in Photoshop. Okay, I'm going to hit Z to zoom out. Okay, so let's see where we started and where we are now. I'm going to go ahead and hit Y to compare it to my initial black and white. Added a bunch of contrast there, and now I can see the words on her t-shirt a little bit better. So I like that. I think that will work. I'm going to hit Y again. I'm going to hit Command E, which is my same as going to Photo, edit in Photoshop. So this will go ahead and this will go ahead and open up in Photoshop for me. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop. Now what I'm going to do, and again, typically when I would edit a black and white in the past, I would go ahead and run an action, but this I'm going to just do all by hand because I actually found that was kind of fun, kind of a fun challenge to do it that way. So I've said this before, and I'll say it again. My number one goal in editing a picture, whether color or in black and white, is to add light and contrast to my subject and remove light and contrast from the other parts of my image. So what I might do to start out, I'm really thinking about these little stickers here. Let's go ahead and remove those, shall we? Let's go ahead and Command J to duplicate my background. I'm going to go ahead and rock with my marquee tool. I'm going to hit M. I think that's the shortcut for marquee. And the marquee tool, let me just click on this real quick. You can do a couple different things with it. Hello, marquee tool. Okay, so you can either do a rectangular or square marquee, or you can do a circular one or elliptical. So I'm going to stick with square because my little guys here are square. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to hope this works. We'll see. I'm going to go ahead and kind of select so that my selection covers all of them, but as little as possible. I want to give Photoshop as much information as possible. I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift Delete. Content aware fill, normal, all that other stuff. Hit OK and hope that it does a good job. No, it didn't do a good job. I'm going to go to Alt Option Command Z to undo that. Let me hit Command D to deselect, Z to zoom, and let's try this another way. I'm going to go ahead and hit M for marquee. And let's try it this way instead. All right, Shift Delete, OK. Please work. There we go. Command D to deselect. Now I'm going to try this guy. All right, let's see if this works. I've got my marquee tool selected. I'm going to go ahead and pull this down. Okay, so I've selected as much as I can without, I want Photoshop to know that I just want it to look like this. So let's hope it works. Shift Delete, OK. Please work. Yeah, okay, that's cool. I can fix that. Let's see, Command D to deselect. I'm going to Command 0. That is totally fine. I can totally fix that, and I will right now. I'm going to hit S for my clone stamp. Let's see, my flow is at 3%. Let's go Shift 3 to do a 30% flow. I'm going to use my right bracket key to increase my brush, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to hit Alt Option to sample, and then I'm going to go down here and just kind of touch that up a little bit. And that's fine. I'm just going to leave it just like that. Okay, now I'm going to go over here, Z to zoom, and let's get rid of this one too. Why not? It might be distracting. Whoa, let's go Command minus to go out a little bit. All right, let's see if it works. I'm going to hit M for my marquee tool. This is a little hard because it's on the edge, so I don't know if this is going to work or not, but I guess we'll see. All right, guess we'll go with that. Wonder if I can, no, you can't kind of adjust it or move it. I was just curious, but let's just try it. Shift delete, okay. Please work. No, that's not gonna work. Let's go Alt Option Command Z, and let's go to Shift delete again and give it another whirl. Better. What do I want to do? Let's try one more time and let's just see what happens. All right, Shift delete. Okay. Do a better job. It just keeps wanting to do that. That's fine. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to Command minus. I'm going to go to S for clone stamp. This is tricky. This gets a little tricky, you guys. My flow is at 30. Let's see. I'm going to go Shift 6 to go to flow of 60. I'm going to go ahead and I'm looking at the length of this issue here. So it's in my eyes, it's like about an inch long. I think I can select right here. I'm going to Alt Option click there, and I'm going to bring this down, and I'm going to hope that this works. Okay, so now I'm going to press down. I don't know. Maybe. Not too bad. See, it's really bright right there. I don't really like that. I'm going to Alt Option here and maybe just tap that. Not perfect, but you know what? Let's do this. Let's go Command 0 and just see what this looks like. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look great. Let me go to, I'm going to clone stamp a little bit more. Alt Option click. I'm going to move up and then try to fix this area. I don't like this weird halo here. So what I might do is let's go Shift 1 for 10% flow. I'm going to Alt Option, actually move in. Let me move right here. Now let me go here. Alt Option, sampling there. And I'm just going to get a little bit closer. And I could use a mask too if I run over. I don't think anybody is going to look at that. I just really don't. So you know what? I'm not going to spend time stressing over it. I just don't think you guys are going to notice. I just don't think you're going to notice. I don't think it's a big deal. If I Command minus, it really isn't distracting my eye too much. So I'm not going to worry about it. What is kind of distracting is her shoes that she took off over here. They're kind of blurred in the background here. I'm just going to go ahead. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and L for lasso. And let me see if I can just kind of get rid of her shoes and socks that she removed. Shift delete, okay, and see what happens. Let's see. I'm going to Command D and Command 0. That doesn't look great either. Sometimes these things don't work out. I'm going to S for clone stamp. And I'm at flow of 10%. I'm going to go Shift 3 for 30%. And I'm just going to kind of just touch this up a little bit. I may sample right here, Shift right there, and then bring that down so that looks a little more normal. I might clone stamp this a little bitty. Again, nothing too crazy. That looks fine. Let's just rock with that. You'll do this forever if you just stress about every little tiny piece of the frame. This looks fine. I'm fine with this. I don't see anything else major distraction wise. If I command minus, you know, there's always going to be things that pull the viewer's eye away. But I am not going to remove every single thing in the frame. It's not worth it. And it would look weird and unnatural anyway, because it's a playground and playgrounds have stuff on them. Okay, so Command 0. Let's continue, shall we? I'm going to go ahead and, I'm not going to flatten. You could flatten, but I'm not going to flatten. I never do. Let me do this. Let me go ahead and add a curves layer. I'm just going to bump the midtones a little bit in her face. Let's go ahead and I'm going to Command minus, and I'm going to go ahead and go to my gradient here. Radial gradient is selected. It is white to black, meaning reveal in the middle to conceal on the outside, but I have this reverse check, so I'm going to unreverse it, and then I'm going to draw out from her and just see what that looks like. Just kind of brightens her up just a little bit. Maybe I will do why don't I do this? Why don't I make a vignette? I got a curves layer here. I'm going to take the shadows. I'm going to pull those down a little bit. Again, go to my gradient over here. And I'm going to click on reverse because I want it to be concealed in the middle, but white around the edges. So I'm going to go like that. It just kind of darkens that up. I like that. I like that a lot. Let's go ahead and add let's do a couple things. Let's add a levels layer. I'm going to go to my red channel. I'm going to add, let's put 5 in there and see what it looks like. All right, so this is before, after, before, after. Not really noticing it. Did it take it or did I mess up? No, it's got 5. Yeah, it's very, very, very subtle. That's okay. Subtle is good. Subtle is very good. Let me do a quick mask mode. I'm going to Z to zoom in just a little bit. B for brush tool, X to put my black brush on top of my little swatches. And now I'm going to hit Q. And now I'm gonna select, let's just select her face a little bit and add some contrast. Q to select. I'm gonna click my levels, and then you see where my histogram is here. I feel like if I pulled this white guy down to touch the histogram, that her face would be way too bright. But let's just see what happens. I'm gonna make that touch the histogram. See how white her face is? That looks kind of weird and unnatural because, I mean, her face is in the shadows. This left side guy is already touching the histogram, but I'm just going to bump him in just a touch. Now what I'm going to do, because this is way too bright, I may take my midtones down a little bit. And the way I take my midtones down in a levels layer is I actually pull this guy to the right, which seems counterintuitive. But I am going to do that a little bit. Before, after, before, after. I'm going to zoom out to see how weird this looks. Let's go to Command 0 and then Command minus. Before, after, before, after. It doesn't look that weird, but I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit. That's fine. Okay, let me do her hair a little bit here. Get Command 0, B for brush, X to have my black brush selected on top, Q for quick mask mode, and I'm just gonna, I just want to add a little lightness to her hair here. Nothing weird and unnatural, but it just looks very dark in comparison to everything else. Q to make my selection, tap on my levels layer. I'm going to take my highlight guy over here and move him in. Probably looks fine. And then I'm going to add a little more brightness maybe. Let's see what that looks like. I'm going to Command minus. Let me see if I like that or not. Yeah, I'm going to lower the opacity a little bit. It kind of makes all that crazy hair stick out, but that's fine. What else do I want to do with this image? Let's add some matte and haze. Why not? I showed you guys how to do that. Normally, I would just probably be fine with this as it is, but why not since I'm doing an editing video? I'm going to go ahead and add a matte effect with a curves layer. I'm going to take this little guy at the bottom. I'm going to lift him up a little bit to add a little bit of matte. Not too much. Yeah, we can leave it at 14. Let's see. Before, after, before, after. I want to brush that off of my subjects. So I'm going to B for my brush tool. I've got my black brush selected on a white mask, and I'm going to brush that off of her. And I want to brush it off of her hair too. And actually, yeah, my flow's at 50%, which is what I want. I'm going to hit my backslash to see how I've done, and then fill in any places. I'm real sloppy about it. I don't care too much. What I will do is hit X to get my white brush, make this a little smaller, and I will let this little part in the background. Okay, I'm fine with that. That's fine. Again, I'm super sloppy when it comes to this kind of stuff. You don't want, I mean, you don't want haloing effects and banding or whatever, but this is super subtle. No one would ever notice. If you're doing some other things, you really want to watch your mask and make it precise, but this does not have to be precise. I'm gonna hit backslash again. I'll hit before and after, before and after. That's cool. Let's go ahead and do a little bit of haze. I'm gonna hit a levels layer. I'm gonna go down to output levels. Let's put 10 in and see what happens. And then I'm gonna go ahead and before, after, before, after. I'm gonna click on the mask down here that I already created. I'm gonna hold down my Alt Option key and pull that up and drop it there. That way my mask is on both of those. You could group the layers and add one mask to the group as well, but I just do it that way. I'm gonna off and on, so that reduced the contrast. That's cool. Why don't I add another vignette, because I've brightened up the outside of my image and I want it darker. I'm gonna pull down on the shadows again, not that much. Maybe there, we'll see. Go to my gradient. I'm going to pull out, and I had it reversed, so I'm just going to Command I to invert my mask. So here's before, after, before, after. That's kind of cool. What else do I want to do? Let's go to my background layer. I'm going to hold down Alt Option. Right, so this is before, after, before, after. That's pretty good. Let me add like one more levels layer. Let's just do one more levels layer. Let me go ahead and quick mask mode this one. I'm going to B for brush. My black brush is selected. I'm going to hit Q for quick mask mode. Where's my brush here? And I'm just going to go ahead and, what's going on? Oh, X. I got an X to get my black brush. I'm going to go ahead and, not super precise, a little bit sloppy, but I'm just going to go ahead and kind of brush on her a little bit. Not super precise by any means. I'm going to increase my brush now. You always want to use the right size brush for the job so it's not taking you forever. Okay. I'm going to decrease my brush a little bit. Go over that hair. That's probably pretty good. Again, I'm not too crazy about this. I'm going to X and make sure I get it off of there. That's probably fine. I'm going to hit Q. Now I've selected her. I'm going to hit my levels. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to tug on this guy over here so it touches the histogram better. This end of the histogram, there's a little bit of white here, but I'm just going to move it in. I'm going to move in this side ever so slightly because it's already touching the black part of the histogram. I'm not going to touch my midtones, I don't think. Let me see what happens if I reduce the midtones. Maybe I'll reduce them. Let me just see. It's important to do a before and after. Before, after, before, after. I kind of like that. Let me see. I'm going to reduce the opacity a little bit. And so when I reduce the opacity, anytime I am doing anything that has these percentages or fill or whatever flow, I hover my cursor above the word, and then I just move it back and forth. That's what I do there. So I think we were at like 77-ish. Yeah, I kind of like her a little darker there. I think that's kind of cool. What else could you do? I think I'm just gonna be done with it, to be honest with you. I think anything more that I do at this point, I'm just reaching. I'm just searching. Even like a fun blur or whatever, I think would be kind of searching. But let me just show you that in case you haven't watched my other videos. I'm going to create a stamp visible pixel layer by hitting Shift, Alt Option, Command E. That's going to give me another pixel layer. All these are adjustment layers, but I need a pixel layer in order to do a blur. Let's give this a little tilt shift. Let's go to Filter, Blur Gallery, Tilt Shift. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to do, and if you haven't seen my other videos, just to recap, anything from the dash line and outward, so from below and above, is going to have the full effect of the blur. Right now I've got a blur of 15 pixels. Anything from the dash line to the solid line, so right here or right between these two lines, that's going to be gradually getting blurry. And then anything in the middle between the two solid lines is going to still be in focus. So the blur is applied gradually from solid to dashed, and most heavily, I guess, at the full 15 pixels from the dash lines and then out. Usually when I do a tilt shift, I'm actually going to take this guy and I'm just going to press and hold on my trackpad on my Mac and just turn it. And I usually do leave it somewhat tilted like that. I don't know why, because it's tilt shift, so I leave it tilted. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, I'm just going to tap on this and make this a little bit stronger, I think. Not quite that strong. Maybe down to there. You can also click this high quality as well. Do I know a whole lot about that? No, I don't know a whole lot about that. But if it says high quality, I want high quality. I guess if you were doing this for Instagram, it's probably not that important. But if this were like a client picture or an important picture or anything you were going to print or whatever, just go ahead and do high quality. It probably is going to increase your file size a little bit. But if you're using an external hard drive, which you really should be using, it's probably not a big deal. Okay, so I'm going to move this guy in a little bit. These bars, you can move these around. I'm going to move this over because I want her little fingers in focus. So I'm going to move that plane of focus. I think I'm going to move this over just a smidge. And it gives it a cool tilt shift or free lensing or lens baby effect. That's kind of neat. Okay, so I'm gonna kind of keep it at this. You can play with some of these things. I've tried this light bokeh and bokeh color, and for whatever reason, the pictures I've chosen to mess with this on really hasn't affected it. So definitely play with it, figure out what all these things do. But I kind of like this. I'm gonna move this over a little bit to there to tilt it a little bit more. But yeah, I kind of like the way that that looks. So I'm gonna hit OK. And this is going to go ahead and run. Okay, so that's finished running. It does take, that probably took maybe 30 to 45 seconds. Also, I'm screen recording, so my system is bogged down a little bit. But anyway, so that's the effect. I think it looks kind of rad. I'm going to click this eyeball off. I loved her hair blowing in the wind. So that's off or before, and this is after. Before, after. I love how it does kind of blur all the lines in the background, and I kind of like the way it's blurring her hair out over here. I think it kind of looks cool, and there's a little bit of a blur on her body here. So it's just it's slight, it's not crazy, but it does kind of give me a little bit more look of a compression here. So I'm gonna go with it. You know, who knows? Sometimes it doesn't work. I kind of like how it blurs out the distracting elements on the stairs here. The metal stairs kind of go away, and then all of the focus is on her. So I really like that. So we're just gonna rock with this. For Instagram, what I would do at this point, actually what I would first do at this point, is go to File, Save As, or Shift Command S if I was using my shortcut. This is the file name. I accidentally uploaded this to Lightroom with another group of pictures. But anyway, I'm going to go down to my external hard drive. Notice I've got all my layers. I have not flattened anything. And I am going to, I'm not going to rename it because sometimes in Lightroom when I'm looking for a file, it's best to have the file names be the same if I'm looking for the PSD file. So right now I'm just going to tag it Kinsley Playground, black and white. What else would I call this? Yeah, I'll just leave it like that. So that way I can search for those tags too, and hopefully it'll pop up. And in Lightroom, this is the file name on it. So Lightroom helps you find kind of lost files, or if you use a different, if you take out your external hard drive and use a new one, and then you have to go back to it, all that kind of stuff. Anyway, so I'm going to save this. Let's see. Let me go to, I've got a folder here called PSDs, March 2017. Probably don't have a lot in there. And then I'm going to save it. as a Photoshop file with layers on. I want to save my layers. I'm going to go ahead and save. I always use sRGB as my my color profile, my color space. And the reason is because, I mean, I guess if you're doing some like serious like skin retouching, you could use a different color space, a bigger color space. But for screen and for print, sRGB is all that screen and print can handle. So why would you use a bigger color space if no one can really see it? If you're doing high intensity skin retouching, and so you want that bigger color space, as soon as you go to put this on a screen or on print, it's going to be reduced to sRGB anyway. So just start with sRGB. That's my opinion on that whole thing. Okay, so I have saved this as a layered PSD file. Now what I'm going to do is flatten it. I created a custom shortcut, Command F as in flatten. I created that. That is not a built-in shortcut, but I created it. It's just Command F. It asks if I want to discard unused layers. If there are any, there weren't any in this case, but it just flattened it. I'm going to Alt Option Command Z to go back, or you could go to your little history doodad here and kind of go back if you wanted to. The way that I did that, let's see, I don't really remember. So, okay, so you go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, so Edit, and all I did was use the help thing. So, and it shows me right where to go. So Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, okay, and so from here you can look under here and here's your new file, new, open, and you can kind of scroll down here. Let's see, let me go back up here. I use a lot of these shortcuts here. So you can look and see what shortcuts are available to you, or just in your menu, it gives you the shortcut in your menu. So what I did was, I think I created this under Layer, Flatten. I think that's what I did. Where is that? I feel like it might be at the bottom. I'm just looking here. Here we go. Flatten image. All right, so before I created my custom shortcut, this little Command plus F did not exist here. When I clicked on this and made it and highlighted it here, I'm gonna get rid of that. I then created this Command F for flatten. Now flatten, or Command F, I'm sorry, Command F is already used as a shortcut for something, but it was something that I had never heard of and never used. So when I saved this as a shortcut, Photoshop said to me, hey, do you realize that you're overriding what this shortcut used to be used for, this random weird command that you'll never use? So are you sure you want to do this? Well, yes, I'm sure, because I always want to flatten my image after I'm done saving it, but I never use that other random weird thing. So anyway, so just do that. Make your life a little easy. Again, go to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, go to your layer here, scroll down all the way kind of sort of to the bottom of that menu item somewhere. Holy moly. Somewhere down here. Are we getting there? Never? Anyway, there we go. Flatten image. It's down toward the bottom. Create your own custom shortcut. Command F works really well for me. And so I just hit Command F. And if there are no unused layers, it'll just boom, do that. If I wanted to sharpen this and prepare it for Instagram, the first thing I would do is resize it, because the size right now, if I go to Image, Image Size, or Shift Command I is what I should really be doing. Right now, this is 6,000 by 4,000 pixels. That's ginormous. So that's huge. You don't want to do that. So what you're going to do is you're going to change your width to 1080 pixels, and then this is locked, so it'll change the height as well, so it doesn't get weird or warped. So I'm going to click OK. Now you can see tiny image, which is only 25% of what the image looks like. If I go Command plus to 33 plus. All right, now see this percentage here? That's 100%. This is the actual size of 1080 pixels by 720. This is the actual size. So there you go. Now if I wanted to sharpen this, I could do that. I could go ahead and Command J, filter other, and then do a high pass filter. This is the way that I sharpen. So what's showing through is going to be what is sharpened, and you can tap this square here. That's fine. It's a little, some of the other stuff is showing through too, so I'm going to reduce this radius and hopefully get rid of, see how that kind of gets rid of that, and the only thing that's sharp is what I want sharp. Okay, that's cool. And that's at a radius of 1.4. Don't go nuts with sharpening. I think I say this like way too. If you're watching my editing videos, you're probably super annoyed with me, but please don't go nuts with sharpening. It doesn't look good. All right, so I'm gonna hit OK. It's gonna still have this little gray overlay on there. I'm gonna go to my blend mode where it says normal, and then I'm gonna go to soft light. Okay, I'm gonna go to Z for zoom. I'm gonna show you how over sharpened this is at this point. So I'm gonna click this layer off and on, off and on. And again, I did zoom in at 300%, just to kind of show you how that takes effect on there. That is way too sharp for me, even at like 1 point nothing pixels. I'm going to command 0 and actually command minus to get to 100%. I'm looking at this, how it would look on Instagram. It still looks too sharp to me. So I'm going to take my opacity and I'm going to reduce it. And I'm just going to click this on and off so it's not like super duper sharp. Okay. And what I can do is I can even add a layer mask just to be safe. So I can click on this guy here. I can, actually what I should have done, I can Command I to turn it black. Anyway, the black mask is concealing that sharpening. I can Command I to turn it on and off, or I can leave the mask black. B for brush tool. I have my white brush selected. My flow is 20%. That's cool. And I'm just going to just brush over the parts of the image that I want sharp. You can see my mask. I can hit the backslash key. You can see what's going to be sharp now. A little bit sharpened, and then before, after, Z for zoom, just to look at it a little bit. This is after, before, after, before. So you definitely recognize it in her hair, especially with some of these blonder streaks. Okay, so that's what I would do. Make sure that layer is selected. Now what you can do is go to Shift Command S, which is your save as. Go to your Dropbox folder in here, and then I have a March 2017, so you can go in there. You can change this file name if you want to, if you're also going to use this for your blog, if you want to kind of double dip and get the most value out of this file. You can use this for your blog. I would recommend changing the file name to something that is a keyword search that your ideal client would be searching for to find your pictures, to find your website. Change that, save it as a JPEG. For Instagram, I just leave it alone because file names don't matter on Instagram. And so as far as I'm concerned, I don't know that they do. So then what I would do is save this to a PNG. When I save it to a PNG, it saves at best quality. And then I would just click save. I'm not going to do that because I already did off recording. I had an issue with my QuickTime yesterday, so I actually did save this already and post it. I am showing this to you after the fact. So I would click save. It would be in my Dropbox. I'd open up Dropbox on my phone. Then I would export this image to my camera roll and then post to Instagram as normal. Thanks so much for watching. I hope that was helpful. I hope you learned a few things, and if you have any questions, definitely let me know.